Hello, war heroes and veterans. Today I'll be ranting about Hell Let Loose. To kick things off, I'll do a quick update review of the update 18, which has the Stalingrad refresh and the tank changes. So starting off with the Stalingrad map itself, I think it's overall a great benefit, the changes they made. It's definitely a lot easier as infantry to make these pushes towards the enemy objective. Although one issue that I have is I think that the skybox and the dynamic weather just don't really fit this map that well. And I'm not really a biggest fan of this. I feel like all the dynamic weather effects, they kind of last a bit too long and don't really fit in the game that well. Also, it gives a massive buff to the Axis players as their gray uniforms just blend in so well on this map. And if you really look at the map, it just feels like you're playing some horror game rather than like a World War II shooter. Like, not in the sense of that oh, it's so hardcore, it's like a horror World War II, it's just like a real war. It's more so like I'm playing like Silent Hill, it's... Okay, as for the tank changes, I can't really say that much as I have not played tanks since the new update. But I'm just wondering, who are they really listening to make these changes? Because I know, these tankers that play in the comp scene that have 5,000 hours of tanking, I'm sure they would make some better changes. I'm looking at these changes and it takes 3 rockets to kill a medium tank now in the back, and I'm thinking to myself, they're definitely not listening to comp players. And do these people play the game right? I've not seen a blueberry kill a tank, and now they have to shoot one more rocket and into the back of the tank as if they're going to know this. I just I don't know. This feels like a massive buff to people who want to pop stop in tanks. This feels like the tank patch. You just zoom around the map and just kill the entire enemy team, and they won't be able to react to you or do anything else to you. So yeah, I think that's kind of my take on that. I've not really been playing Hell Let Loose for the past weeks, as there has been a kind of an issue with the games crashing and server crashing, and I just think that it's just so hilarious how you update a game, you push an update through, and then you just go on vacation, as the devs have done. But that's kind of like a Hell Let Loose thing, and it's week 2 and we have not had a hotfix. So if we really compare this patch to any other patch, not really much actually is that different. So we release a patch. There's some small quality of life changes, which are always welcome, like the ADS FOV addition to the game. Previously, all the guns had a different ADS FOV, so you would feel a different sensitivity, or it would feel different to aim with all these guns. So I think that's something that's a good change that people have been campaigning for, I think, over a year or even longer. But it's followed by a complete breaking and everything else. That's then followed by a hotfix. And the gameplay doesn't really changes. I could have stopped playing the game 3 years ago and come back to it now, and I would just know everything as nothing has changed at all. So the light at the end of the tunnel with this actual tank change that they made is that they kind of understand that there's kind of maybe a flaw in their gameplay, in the game loop. So even if they just randomly start adjusting random things, they might just strike gold, which I think is an overall benefit. Yeah, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. So I'd like to touch a bit on vehicles, such as jeeps, trucks, and half-tracks, and not tanks specifically. When was really the last time you saw a jeep driving around the map, or a half-track being used as an armored personal travel vehicle with a machine gun on top? The use of the half track is actually to hide this armored vehicle, to make it hidden as much as possible. It's just so funny to me. And same with trucks. The trucks are used in the beginning of the map, and that is pretty much it. After then, maybe the supply truck is kind of driven to build some nodes, or the commander is babysitting the team, building garrisons for them. But other than that, it's there's just no vehicle usage other than the tanks, and I think that's they're really missing out there. I feel like something like the half track should be the half track that jeep should spawn at the beginning of the map in your HQ, and you should be able to just use them as you wish. Especially with the half track, I think they should remove the garrison function from it and just make it some armored personal travel where you can actually load in a bunch of boys and just drive across an open field, and the gunner would shoot whoever. So yeah, to kind of spice up the gameplay a little bit, because currently defending is just way too easy. It's it's just so easy. There's so many bush spots, rooftop spots, whatever you do, that we kind of need a bit more pushing ability, and I think something like the vehicles, something like the half track, is definitely very overlooked. And this kind of constitutes, and this happens basically because the fuel economy is just so flawed. So like if you look at the fuel economy, like it's just like a waste to spawn these things, you know. Like any competent team would always just wait and spawn a heavy tank or a medium tank, you know, if once they have enough fuel. And yeah, these things are just like a waste of fuel. So yeah, these things need to be changed. Then moving on to like the commander class, I think the commander class is just way too weak. I feel like he cannot do enough, you know. You know, it's cool. You drop supplies here for your boys. You spawn them tanks. Maybe you do a bombing run on an airhead. But other than that, like, what are you doing? You're just like an infantry guy that every like, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, clicks on a map and flicks something down. You know, it doesn't really feel that strong to me. It just feels like a weaker infantryman. You know, if I'm playing the game and I want to have the most impact, I'm just gonna go with some infantry guy, you know, anti-tank, just run around and kill everybody. So I think they need to like make the commander a bit more powerful of a class. Uh, that's just my take on that. And I also think that they should remove the artillery. But I'm pretty sure this is like a sentiment among most sentient players of this game. So yeah, so we have 3 years without any gameplay changes. And the next point would be that I think that the game's a bit too easy. Maybe with the exceptions of like maybe 80 rocket snipes, you know, some anti-tank rocket across the map snipes. But yeah, I just feel like all the guns are just way too easy to use. I would really like some like actual skill taken to maybe like control the spray of an STG, because right now I can just blast at any range and eventually I'll hit somebody. So I would really like if the gunplay was a lot more difficult. Like previously, the one-hit tickle range was 100 meters, so it is half of what it is now, you know. And if you make an area right now, if you put your guy in the middle of a map, you draw a 200-meter circle, you know, 100-meter radius, and that's how much area you can cover. You know, you can one-shot anybody from that distance. I just think that is crazy. And if we just lower that from 200 to 100 on most rifles, like all of a sudden you'll be able to make these pushes. All of a sudden, actually dropping ammo matters. There's going to be running out of ammo more often. Medic bandages, all of a sudden you'll need more bandages because you'll be getting shot from further away more. You know, it's almost as if the game was designed for, you know, a 100-meter one-shot range. But so yeah, so who do they listen for changes for? Because the way I see it is that like if I'm going to change something, I would always base it around the highest level of play. For let's say like chess. If you're going to change anything about chess, you're going to the grandmasters, right? You're going to like Hikaru or Magnus, and they're like, "What do you not like about chess?" And they would say something like, "Well, I think the bishop is 3.5 points and the knight is 3. Maybe if we change the starting position of the knight like Fischer random, and then maybe we will do this. I think this is the way it should go." You know, and if they ask some like 1000 elo noob in chess, he will just be like, oh, well, the horse moves in out, and it's really hard to predict where he, you know, like, what are we doing? You know, what are we doing here? So you always would want to listen to the competitive kind of scene of it, because they really min-maxed everything possible in the game, and you want to balance around that. So the 3-tank heavy meta, you know, tanks playing really reserved in the back, you're just sniping across, rocket snipes, stuff like this, you know. The fact that in comp to play only one minority, that kind of probably tells you a lot, and that the nodes are just like indestructible, you know, and just for the casual, you know, like, and if they're listening to like people on Reddit and some of the Discord suggestions, you know, I would really take them with a grain of salt, because you know some of these people like they really don't know what they're talking about. And I think the issue with the casual is that he constantly dictates how others should play, repeats the same pathetic demands, and then throws a fit the moment someone shows any sort of competence, whether in-game or in video, because he deep down craves to be surrounded by mentally retarded players so that his delusions can come true. You see this often in like, especially the Hell Loose Reddit or Discord, you know, these people make these like changes that just do nothing. That's pretty much just do nothing at all, and it's just really difficult to, you know, play the game knowing that because there's more of those people, their voices are heard more. Coming to the end, no fun allowed. I have this bullet point here, and this is basically like a reflection of like the way they run their Discord. I feel like the moment you try to start anything, like, I know, have fun, you know, live life, it's just immediately, you know, banned. And this kind of translates to in-game. Like, I just think that like direct communications, when you talk direct communication, when you directly communicate in game with your teammates, I feel like the enemy should hear it and you should be able to talk with the enemy, you know, like. But they really don't like it. They like they just strum at me into thinking that like all of a sudden the game won't be playable because the people will be sharing information, you know, as if that's like not, as if that's like super difficult to do now, you know. Those are kind of like my takes currently. You know, this is kind of a bit of a scuffed video. Kind of just working on bullet points here. And the last last point here I have is Vietnam. Am I excited for Vietnam? To put it bluntly, no. I watched the trailer. You know, and in the trailer, it's pretty much just Hell Let Loose. I see the same soulless running animation, same explosion effects. It just looks like literally Hell Let Loose Vietnam, and I just don't think that would be that good of an experience, especially with, you know, automatic rifles. It's jungles. It's literally the worst things about like Hell Let Loose, right? You get one shot from like, a million bushes. You know, I just don't see how they will make it enjoyable. Although I do hope that they succeed, because you know that'd be just one more game to play. As per usual, if you stuck out this long, consider joining the Discord in the description. There we discuss Hell Let Loose, you know, and other games like this, and I'll be glad to see you there. Anyways, peace.